Hello YouTube, I am Talita. I am here because I just want to give a testimony of my life and my journey. So this is where I am starting. Today's video is going to be about how to overcome having drug addicted parents and being abandoned and just not having people around that you think should be around. So right now I am currently 29 years old. I live in Baltimore. I do have a son. But back when I was growing up, it was rough. I was put into kinship foster care with my aunt for like a year or so, and then with my grandmother for a couple years. And then after, that, I was put into, the foster care system because me and my brothers just, became too much at one point to take care of. It was very stressful on them, so, I understand why they had to do what they had to do. My parents both were on drugs. My mom was addicted to drugs, dope, weed, alcohol, and so was my dad, so they gave up all their rights to take care of me and my siblings, and pretty much custody came and picked me and my brothers up. Now, for a long time, I couldn't understand why I was put in that situation. I couldn't understand, why did I have to not have my parents in my life? There were days when I would go to school and I would see people parents in their life and I'd be like, oh, it just brings back memories like, damn, my parents aren't there, why they get to do that and why they get to laugh and smile with their parents. So all growing up, I felt that no one cared about me. I felt like, I was just out here and I was just in an unfair situation. I didn't understand it. And at the time, it wasn't for me to understand. But I treated people bad. You look at me wrong. You give me any attitude or anything, I'm ready to fight. Like, I just didn't care. I had such a bad attitude because I hated the world. I was mad at everybody, even the people that tried to show me love. I was just so mad, and I hated everyone around me just because of what my parents did to me. And I didn't love myself. So, not loving myself and just not understanding things, that led me to start doing drugs within myself. I didn't do no hardcore drugs, but I did have addictions to, marijuana, and I really wasn't a big drinker, but I was more so a smoker and just addicted to, food and just things that just weren't good for me because I was just trying to find an outlet. I was just trying to look for some type of love, just some sign that somebody cares and that everything will be okay. And it wasn't until, I'll say, once I got pregnant around 16, 17, things started to look up for me, and I started to have more of a positive outlook on things because I cried out to God. God was always around, but I never paid him no attention. I felt him, but I just wanted to live life my way. I wanted to do things my way because I felt like I was dealt this unfair hand, and I just want to live life the way that I want to live. So, I ended up pregnant, thinking I was in love, and I wasn't in love. I just found someone that gave me attention that I was looking for, even if it was the wrong attention. I just felt like, okay, I got attention now, so, I just accepted whatever. So, I was just so confused about as far as what would I do with my baby and everything. And I was just like, Lord, I'm just not ready. You know, my parents were not good parents. And, you know, I'm going to turn out to be like them. You know, I'm not ready. I'm so unsure of my next move. I'm still in foster care. Like, why would I put my child into the situation? But that day, I just had this peace that came over me, this overwhelming feeling of God just let me know, like, it's going to be okay. Like, I got your back. I am going to provide for you. I have been here this long, and I got you. So I think it wasn't until around that time where I started believing, like, you know what? Things will get better. Life will get better. You know, yes, I was dealt this, you know, this hand that just felt so unfair. I made it this far, you know, this far with such a bad attitude. So during that time, God was working on me, and I realized the reason why I was so angry because I didn't forgive my parents. I was, you know, using the anger towards my parents, towards everyone else, even people that were trying to help me. I gave them the anger that I wanted to give my parents for not being there for me. You know, of course, there were times when I looked out the window and my dad wasn't there and said that he was coming, or, you know, and I didn't even know where my mom was. You know, I didn't know where she was or what she was doing. It came down to understanding. And once God had entered my life, I allowed to receive the Lord in my life. He started to allow me to put myself in their shoes and understand that if you have had drug addicted parents, that they do love you. But it's just, they just made the wrong choices and they just made the wrong decisions. You know, they weren't bad people. And once I started to realize, you know what, they aren't bad people. You know, they just made some effed up decisions, you know, that cost their kids, you know, a life of, you know, pain and different things, you know, just a rough childhood, you know, just having a broadcast. And once God just allowed me to realize that I need to depend on him and not depend on them, and he was my mom, and that he was my dad, and that I could come to him instead of looking to come to these two figures that I believed how parents should be. And he made me realize that that was my imagination of what parents should be, and that he was my mom, he was my dad, and he was my friend and my comforter, and that he had provided for me this long. Why am I so angry, and why don't I care about myself? So I started, you know, trying to find out who Talita was, trying to find out, you know, who I needed to become, and just loving me, you know, loving who he created me to be. And, you know, I knew I didn't want to be that type of parent to my son. I knew that I wanted to be a better influence for my child. And I knew that I just wanted to be better for me. You know, I just wanted to be happy. I wanted to be free. And, you know, God said, if I don't forgive them, he wouldn't forgive me. You know, if we don't forgive people that have done us wrong, he won't forgive us for our sins. You know, so I started to really look into it. And, like, even if I didn't have understanding, I really started to forgive my parents, you know. And I just loved them, you know, for just, you know, allow me to be in this world. You know, even if they weren't there for me, I still forgave them because they let the enemy overtake them and who they could have become. You know, they let the drugs and their bad habits take over who the people that God created them to be. And I knew that I didn't want that for my life, and I didn't want that for my son. So I just decided to make the change and to forgive them. And it wasn't until I forgave them for what they did to me, and realized that it wasn't my fault. You know, it wasn't because I wasn't unlovable. It wasn't because, you know, I wasn't special. It was just because they had allowed those drugs to overtake them and to overtake their habits over their life, over their purpose. They let the enemy win in those areas in their life. And when you let the enemy win in certain areas, it starts to affect the people around you without you even realizing it or without you even knowing it. And it has left an imprint on my life forever. It's something that I will never forget. I do not have a relationship with my parents now. There was a time when I let them know that I forgave them and, that I moved forward with it. But I still felt like they weren't making an effort to be a parent in my life, or I wanted my son to at least experience grandparents in his life, just a family structure. And, I realized that's not what God had called to my life. It's not what God had called to my son's life. And, I started to put my dependence more on him instead of more on my parents. Like, why aren't they at my graduation? Why aren't they trying to help me buy a car? Why aren't they helping me, get furniture for my first apartment? And, but I realized God was that person. So once you start forgiving people for hurting you, and you replace God and start depending on him for those needs that you once wanted from your parents or once wanted from people that are not for you, that's when you'll start to heal and you'll start to have a healing process. And once you start healing on the inside, it starts to show on the outside. So, I wasn't so angry. I started, doing better for myself and just loving me and trying to find my purpose for my life. And that's when things just started changing for the better, And I started letting go of the habits that were not good for me because I didn't want to repeat the cycle. Even though it was so easy to fall in that that cycle. It is so easy to fall into what my parents did. But I knew that that's just not what I wanted. I wanted better, and I didn't want my son to have to go through the pain that I felt like that I went through. So, it's been a long journey. I can't say that it has been easy, and I can't say that it has been perfect. And there's still a lot of days where I just sit and be like, wow, I really overcame this. And God helped me heal over it, so there's many days when I don't even think about it. And I think everybody just has their process. And I think if you just be patient and just, be more understanding, because it actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I'm not as strong as I would have been. I mean, I am as strong as I am because of what I went through. I am as good of a mother as I am because of what I went through. Who knows if I would have stayed with my parents, who knows of what my life could have been. I could have been strung out somewhere. So God does everything for a reason. And once you understand that your story is written to be different than everyone else, your story is not everyone else's story. And you just have to accept what the cards you were dealt and just move forward in a positive way. You can't dwell on the past, because if you stay stuck in the past, you'll never get ahead. I mean, my parents, they moved on with their life. They were doing what they wanted to do, but I would sit there mad at everyone and depressed and angry, but I was letting them hold me back. And until you realize that you're letting these people have energy over you and letting your past have power over you, you'll never move forward into a more positive, better way for your life. So, I hope that this testimony, kind of helps someone, and I hope that you just be encouraged and know that things will get better and that you are not alone. There are people out here that parents was not there for them, and then, just had to grow up in a rough situation and had to grow up in childhood. But you can overcome it. You can overcome it. Life is not easy, and God never guaranteed it to be easy. But if you let him work through your life and work through the challenges that you go through, things will get better. It will get easier, and life will become more fulfilling, and you'll start to figure out who you are. You know, just because people weren't there for you or didn't care about you doesn't mean you're unworthy, because you are worthy, and you're worth more than anything. You know, God sees you as this wonderful diamond, and sometimes he has to, you know, rough it up and shine it up, and, you know, you have to go through some battles, you know, to just become who God has created you to be. It's definitely, you know, it's a challenge, but what isn't a challenge, you know? So you just roll with the punches and be the strong person that you are, and just keep pushing to just be better. Alrighty, you guys. I thank you for watching the video, and I hope that this helps someone, and I hope that this is an inspiration to someone just to keep going, because if God can pull me through, he can pull you through. Alrighty, peace out, you guys.